Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, we're going to talk about the latest step that was added to the Manderville weapon questline in patch 6.35. Now, normally I would introduce a video like this with something more like, this is my guide to the Manderville weapons in patch 6.35, and give you a whole spiel about what you need to do, which activities are the best, etc., etc. Well, we can't actually do that because this step is just as easy as the first one. When the Manderville weapons were added in patch 6.25, they had two very simple conditions. Complete the Hildebrand quests that were in that patch, and then move through the Manderville questline and purchase the requisite items. And the requisite items were 3 meteorites that cost 500 tomestones of astronomy each. Well, that's pretty much what happened in patch 6.35 as well. You complete the patch 6.35 Hildebrand quests, which are phenomenal, by the way. And then as you're doing the Manderville quest, they request, once again, 3 items, this time complementary chondrite, I believe is what it's called, at the same cost of 500 tomestones of astronomy each. And I can't really guide you through that other than go make tomes, but I think it warrants a discussion because it's really the first time something like this has ever happened, and it speaks to their shift in design for these buildable weapons across the expansion style content that they've been doing since Realm Reborn. So for those of you who have not been around in the past, who weren't around for Realm Reborn, Shadowbringers, or anything in between, these weapons are a very normal thing. Back in Realm Reborn and Heavensward, there were these long, tedious grinds, and I say tedious, but a lot of us use that as kind of a means to spend time with each other in the community and just build out these weapons over time and log in and have daily activities to do. But they were essentially, go do a few hundred of this activity, specific activities, or go grind out this many tomestones, and it was just a mix and match of just do a lot of this for tens and tens of hours on end. Then, going into Stormblood and Shadowbringers, we instead got exploration zones, which had their own objectives, goals, and would require entire guides for me to describe Eureka and Bozja, the requisite areas, in more detail. But now, with Endwalker, at the point with 19 jobs in the game, they seem to just be going with, hey, if you got 1,500 spare tomes, or even if you only have 500, you want to make a little bit of progress, here's something to spend all your tomes on that you're doing all these various activities and getting these things from. And depending on who you ask, that's either a good or a bad thing, and I'm somewhere in between the two. So let's talk about why I think they're going this direction with the relics based on statements that they've made, as well as what my personal opinion is on this sort of approach to them. So first of all, we have to consider player feedback for all of those previous quests that I've actually mentioned. Now, I've been around, so I know what everyone has said, and it's always been kind of a split between the people who like and don't like it, which is a completely normal thing in any, thing at all, not just video games. So for the first, a Realm Reborn and Heavensward ones, we had a lot of, it's no fun, it's just doing old content and doing it over and over again, and there's nothing unique or interesting or challenging about it. Then we moved into Eureka and Bozja, which had a little bit more challenge or had objectives that, while not mandatory necessarily to do the relic, were things people were doing alongside of it. So it was a little bit more distracting, a little bit more varied, but at the same time, now we were just locked in these zones working on these quests. And that's when you heard the other complaint. Oh, it's just grinding in the same zone for hours on end. It's just fates with a different name, and completely fair assessments if you want to break them down into that degree. I've enjoyed all the relic steps except for certain ones across the various expansions. But now we've gotten to the point where the most major complaint is all it is tomes. And you know what? I'm kind of on that same fence, because I was really hoping with the return to it, and I'll put this in quotes, air quotes you can't see, grindy weapons that are all about just doing old content. They said we would be returning to something closer to the Realm Reborn and Heavensward weapons this expansion. I expected more direct objectives to be going after with the community, and that has always had its pros and its cons. One of the biggest things is that the community would find the best way to grind out these weapons, and it was normally something tedious like I would describe, do Garuda hard mode for 2 hours, 3-minute speed runs, try to get 20, 30 runs out, and then it'll swap to another instance. Then you go spam that. But then you had the people who would just log in, do all of their roulettes, collect whatever resources they could from that, and then move on. And they were done for the day, and they'd make a little bit of progress every day. And it was something they could do with people, oh, I'm going to do this. Does anyone still need this or that? Put parties together for it, and you could make a thing. And then you could mix and match the two depending on your mood. But on top of that, you just were more involved on the regular. You had more of a set goal. However, when it's tomestones, it sort of achieves the same thing. You can sit there and grind tomestones over and over and over again through whatever means you want, or you could just log in, do your roulettes, do whatever you do for the day, and then gradually work towards them. However, I find that with tomestones, it's a little bit more of a kind of a lazy approach to it, because you're basically just saying that I don't care what you do, at the end of the day, tomestones are tomestones, and it kind of exposes kind of a deeper flaw within Final Fantasy XIV and its current design philosophy, in that they don't really care what you're doing. All they care about is kind of what the end result is. And that's kind of a tough thing to break down, I suppose, but it's why we're seeing a lot of these weird reward structures or contents that are really cool on the surface, but they lack something a little bit deeper underneath, is because we've just gotten to this point after years of feedback and differing opinions and all that stuff. And it's really unfortunate to see, because this just isn't something that makes me feel like I want to log in and engage with the game. It feels more like something that if I happen to have over 1,500 tomes, I guess I'll go do that. Or if I don't want to cap tomes, but I don't really know what weapons I want to get, then, I'll just go spend 500 on that, if I'm not going to spend them on, selling items for Gil or something like that. So it's just kind of this weird feeling where it doesn't feel like the game wants me to log in to do this thing. It's just kind of a second thought. And I wish it wasn't that, because when a new patch comes out, I want to be able to get engaged with whatever it is the patch is bringing me. And while I do enjoy the story quest for the Manderville stuff, this just isn't it, in my opinion. And some of that's honestly just a change in the way the game kind of makes progression available to players nowadays. Back in A Realm Reborn and Heavensward, one of the big things they did is they would use these weapons as an excuse to funnel players into old content to revitalize it. Heck, they actually even did that in Shadowbringers with some of the steps as well. So you would see things like, normal mode trials or leveling dungeons and stuff. And while, yes, you could make pre-made parties and do those without filtering in, a lot of people don't do that. They just queue in, and whoever they get, and then they help revitalize that old content. But nowadays, we don't need that nearly as much. With the amount of stuff that can be duty supported through the MSQ, it really just becomes like old 24-man, certain ones, not Crystal Tower, as well as, the 8-man trials that are part of the MSQ. And the trial roulette itself kind of takes care of that to some capacity. So I understand why that's not their approach now. But again, it's kind of upsetting or sad. I don't really know what the right word for it is, but not as exciting of a thing. Even like knowing full well that at best it would have been something I sat there and went, oh my God, I've done this so many times. I'm almost done. Please get it over with. But there's just this, like, I don't know how to describe that feeling. Masochism, maybe. But I think a lot of people understand what I'm saying. When you want to grind and you don't have a grind, there's just something hollow about it, I suppose is the best way to put it. And the thing is, a lot of people have said to me, well, clearly the next one is going to be the one that's grinding. I'm like, can you really think that at this point? I don't. I think all of the steps are going to be exactly this. And then it's just a matter of grinding up, let's say by the end of the expansion, 6,000 tomes per weapon, and with 19 weapons. And I think that is the chief reason why they're doing it this way. I think that, yeah, you can look at the way that duty support has changed how people go through old content and, the sort of change in philosophy of how they want players to spend their time. At the end of the day, though, we know this for a fact, because Yoshi P has said this, that there are now 19 jobs in the game. And the way that those 19 jobs obtain rewards, or the way that they design the game around all of those jobs existing in the game, is that they don't just expect players to be one job tricks anymore. Back when they designed them during A Realm Reborn and Heavensward, when it was 10 jobs and 13 jobs, or they kind of anticipated that most people would at most make one. So they made them these longer stretches so that people who just wanted to do one could work at it over time and still feel kind of good when they finished it. Whereas players who wanted to do multiple kind of had to make that conscious decision. But now so many people play more than one job. They're trying to increase the accessibility so players don't do one and then they're exhausted and they don't want to do another one. Again, I understand that. I get it. It makes sense when you explain it to me, and hopefully when I explain it to you. But again, that doesn't seem to me to be a reason for this type of activity to be this level of hollow. I'd prefer to have gone full out and been like the Realm Reborn and Heavensward ones, you know, books asking you to go do, and I never thought I'd say that, by the way, books asking you to go do specific fates, specific dungeons, kill specific overworld mobs, do a specific activity, light farming where, you know, some things are worth more light than others and you can choose to focus or just do random stuff, or, you know, go back and even do the old deep dungeons. You know, Palace 1 to 50 could always use more people, especially with Eureka Orthos out now, and that's going to be a video all in of itself. Don't you worry about that. So hopefully a lot of people understand where I'm coming from with this. You know, I've just been around for so long and I've seen so many iterations of these things that this is just not something to get excited about. And then it makes it hard to get excited about it in the future patches. I think the weapons look cool. I think the upgrades actually look really cool as well. I got the monk ones and I think they look fantastic. But I'm not excited about the actual activity. I'm just excited to get my kind of hand-me-down and move on, you know, and then have something to spend tomes on. So that's just not for me personally, but I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section of the video below. Are you okay with this like really basic tombstone style grind? Is this something that you're kind of appreciative of because you just log in every day and just get tomes anyway? Or would you have preferred something a little bit more focused and engaging, but still not new content like Eureka and Bozjik? And we're trying to compare this to the Realm Reborn and Heavensward versions and not the more recent ones. Let me know in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for some Eureka Orthos style content this week. Thoughts videos, as well as a guide as soon as I can actually get through all of the floors, because, oh boy, just wait till you hear that thoughts video. I've got some things to say about Eureka Orthos. Some good, some not so good. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video, and until then, take care.